Kira, if you can kind of just give us a little bit of an introduction about how you got started on the charts, who you are, and how we can basically learn a little bit more about you, and then we'll dive into more about how you trade, the logic that you employ, as well as the tools that you use on a day-to-day basis.
All right. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'm Traderxkira. Um, I'm a futures trader. I'm a crypto degenerate. Um, a part of that crazy world on crypto Twitter. Um, in terms of my timeline, and kind of made a small little graphic here so we can all see it. But I got my start, I would say, in 2017. My wife had quit her job, and I was on a sole income. We're sole income with my day job, and I was trying to find ways to make more money. And you know, you just go online, how to make money. Like honestly, the most stupid thing to write, but you get all these different ways to make money, drop shipping, or you know, um, doing some sort of Facebook ads on you know whatever service you're doing. But I ended up coming into like investing, and it was something very, very new to me. And one thing that stuck out was like fundamentals. So for me, back in 2017, I'm from Canada, by the way. Um, Pod stocks were not very big, but I knew that the legalization was going to happen later in the year or later in 2018. So I thought, hey, you know what? This is a good opportunity to get in early. So I managed to get in on a few Canadian pot stocks like ACB, Canopy. There was another one called Fria. And I basically bought super low and had no idea what I was doing, but it was like really exciting because it was the first time I was ever like looking at my phone and seeing my investment going up and down. So getting that feeling of FOMO or euphoria or panic or whatever, right? Like all that stuff. That was the first time I ever experienced that from a trading perspective. So, anyways, pot stocks did really well later that year. Sold it off. Also, within that year, I started to hear about Bitcoin, and I had heard about Bitcoin. I would say probably, geez, like 20, like mid 20s, mid 2015 or 16 or something like that. And I was working, and they had opened up a ATM, like one of those Bitcoin ATMs. And I thought with my friends at work, like, hey, let's just go spend $100 and get some Bitcoin. And we all kind of laughed. And obviously, I did not buy any at that time. Had I did, it would be a very different story. So, anyways, point of the story, I kind of got back. I started looking into Bitcoin because I'm now into this investing thing. So basically, at that point, I sold my pot stocks later in December. There was like a Santa rally, and I had made up. I think I'd made like 3x on my stocks, and I thought it was a genius. Like I thought I knew how to trade. I thought similar to probably so many other people, and that's obviously so far from the truth. So I had also bought crypto, and I was looking at fundamentals, and jumped in on the XRP bandwagon with the banking situation, and just such a crazy rabbit hole there. Um, and yeah, so I bought, and then I had started to see the crazy gains, like the insane gains that started happening later in 2017 at the end, and it was absolutely crazy. And once again, euphoria, panic on a whole other level because it was happening so fast. Like every time I look at my phone, you're up like ten to $15,000, which is, and this is American money. So for us in Canada, it's like a lot more. Um, Anyways, didn't sell, of course, because I'm thinking, listening to everybody else saying it's going to go, XRP is going to $10 or something. So you're like, oh, I'm not going to sell it $3.85. Sure enough, that's the top. And then in 2018, basically seeing that investment and not understanding these market cycles, seeing that investment drop like 90%, I was like completely depressed. Like I'd never experienced that feeling as well. So I basically just turned my phone off. Did not like I did not even log into Binance at that time. which is the exchange I was using. I had my crypto. I was like, I'm stuck until this thing kind of picks back up. So, anyways, 2018, 2019, I'm literally depressed. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not looking at Binance. And I would say when I started getting some pings, like alerts on my phone from people I had known in the crypto community, kind of saying like, we're back, we're back. I was like, oh, let me take a look. And sure enough, crypto is starting to recover. And then I'm like, why is it like recovering? And I started learning about, the Bitcoin 4-year, halving cycle theory and all that kind of stuff. That's when I started to really say, okay, I'm gonna take a bit more of a look into how to trade. So I would say like 2020 was my trading rookie year, and just like anybody else, starting, I'm looking at trend lines. I'm looking at Fibonacci. There was a trader I used to follow. I won't mention his name, but he was using Fibonacci and the golden pocket, and I had no idea about this stuff. But I would just see how he would show the price bouncing off the golden zone, and I'm like, holy crap, that is insane. How is it doing that? How is price doing that? How is a chart able to show such precision and accuracy? So I started to try to duplicate that, and of course it doesn't work for me. But nonetheless, I'm starting to get that itch. I'm starting to get that that craving that we all get when we first get into trading, on TradingView especially. And I would say I just slowly kept progressing and trying to learn. And by 2021, yeah, sophomore slump. Like the crypto market rallied again. This time I was smart and I did take my profits somewhat closer to the top, or just as the price was kind of rounding off before it ultimately did dump. But the reason I call it a sophomore slump is just because while my spot was profitable, my actual leverage trading was not. I was just losing money and not understanding what was happening. I think I mentioned this in a live stream I did with the Unicorn University guys, on a student stage there. But yeah, like I had like a 5-figure loss one night. I was like close to like $50,000, and that feeling of losing that much money in like seconds on a market crash was absolutely humbling, grounding. I mean, I had so many feelings rushing through me at that point, like I'm going to give up, or like trading's not for me. Um, and that was like a big chunk of gains that I had made too, right? So um, thankfully I was still green, which is the bonus. But I just took a big break after that, and I kind of came back into 2022, and I call it the grind because I literally, like I said, I had been humbled. Whatever ego I had, whatever sort of excitement I had was gone. And at this point, it was just more the passion started to build of like regarding trading. So I wanted to understand as much as I could about it, like the dynamics and the fundamentals, and just studying other amazing traders that were successful. And I wanted to emulate what they're doing. And so I started to learn. And the problem that I came into was, there's a lot of people that are out there willing to help, which is great, but it's tricky because they show you things that are very relevant and make sense to them, but then when they're trying to teach it to you, there's a lot of missing pieces, a lot of gaps. So I had like a lot of gaps in these questions that I had, and they couldn't really be answered. And a lot of it was based off of a trader intuition. And we know that there's a lot of discretionary decision making that can be made when we're trading. I am not very good with trading when it comes to making discretionary decision making, and this is something I learned later. But in hindsight, I know I can kind of like pinpoint that as being like a massive problem for me, because I would always make the wrong move, and because I was basing it off of emotion versus some form of logic. So, anyways, I just grinded my way in 2022 to just learn and study and build. And then I came across the ICT 2022 mentorship model in 2023, and that one little, that one little pattern that we all love, right? Where you get like that Quasimodo and then the liquidity sweep, which is, the turtle soup, and then you have the break of structure and then a retest back into the OTE, right? So that one little model like literally changed my life and set me down a completely different path, because I started seeing that just like anybody else and reading everybody else's posts that were, that were in this world. They all had that liquidity sweep and then the market structure break and then a retracement back into OTE. But, I didn't know people were using like order blocks or breaker blocks. I had no clue about all that stuff. So I then took that model and made my own model out of it. And I was utilizing that mentorship model with NASDAQ. And this is when my first real taste of like trading NASDAQ, because I had gone away from crypto completely. I just thought I needed a fresh start. So I started trading on NASDAQ and just through another prop firm on MetaTrader. And I was trading this pattern, and I had some confluence with it, which was like, okay, I'm trading NASDAQ during the New York kill zone, which is the morning, like 9:30 to like 11:30. And I'm going to also make sure that not only do I see this model form, but there has to be some sort of like RSI divergence. So this is like my big little trick. And I was doing this all in the 1 minute time. So studying other people in that year, I started understanding like how to journal. And I started taking these like bigger steps, I would say, in terms of, progression from where I was. And a lot of this, like I said, just has to do with the people that surround you and the type of information you're digesting, so to speak. So I just started journaling at that point, like hardcore journaling, trying to figure out like what I'm doing. Let's see if I can actually show you guys this. Just want to double check. You can still see my screen, right? With Notion? Awesome.
Yep.
Perfect.
Drop a one in the chat. Anybody else? Yep. Awesome.
So like, I'll go over a lot of this stuff later, but like I have a backtesting archive here, and you can see I was like backtesting all types of stuff, failing miserably most of the time. But here, let's take this NQ backtesting from 2023. Let's let this load up. So like I started, mapping out everything I was doing, risking, like $1,000 kind of thing in the account. And this was like my very first spreadsheet I made for myself, trying to understand how to accurately journal, how to accurately and detail, put things together. If I open one of these up, like this is what my chart used to look like, right? So you have your 9:30 to 12. You have your divergence here, and then you can see we have that market structure break, retest into OTE, and then I was setting my targets for 0.62, which is I think giving me like 3.76 RR. And I got MACD on the bottom. A lot of these things that are retail based concepts, but it's still powerful if you know how to use them, or if they're working for you. But like that's like one chart there. Let's see if I can find another one. So here's another one, some divergence. I mean, this was literally what I did every morning, and I started to understand the concept of showing up during a kill zone and not over trading. And over time, what you start getting are, like really good stats, right? Like I had 11 wins, 2 losses, 2 break evens, 7 no trades. No trade meaning I got front run. And I would make my notes on the strategy, right? Divergence, market structure, break, OTE, and then my notes, similar to what everyone else is doing. And you can see if I started with $100,000 account, you can see the value that I ended up with. And I think this just goes to show, if you just have a system, like one system, and you just, use it and hammer it out every single day, and you keep adjusting your risk, and learning from your mistakes through your notes, then you can start to understand like the repeatable mistakes you're making, and then eliminate those. And then ultimately what happens is you stop making those silly mistakes and you start doing more of the things that are working. And that's what I started to do. Um, Here's December. So I think I did have some rough months too, but December was about $12,000 a month. And this is all prop firm based, not like in my actual bank account or anything. But this is where I was building my confidence, right? And even in a month like this, I went 50% here, and it still was profitable. And I think this just goes to show that we know that if you trade over, I think it's 33% with a 2-to-1 risk to reward, you're a break even. I was going for almost 3.5 RR at this point. So I had a 50% win rate, and this was also showing me that it's okay to lose, because if you follow what's working for you, then let the data play out, and hopefully it's in your favor, right? So that's what I started doing. And then I think I went through like a bad stretch where things weren't working. I started getting a lot of losses, and I didn't understand the mindset piece. And that's kind of when I jumped ship and started trying to learn more about, you know, different models like in FX. And then someone had mentioned to me, because I was still trading that model I was just showing you, someone had mentioned to me, hey, have you heard of this guy named Ash Trades? He's talking about something called smooth edges, and I'm like, smooth edges? What the hell is that? I've never heard of smooth edges before. I'm like, is that a trading term? And this opened the whole, can of worms for me in terms of these ICT concepts, and it just took me down a completely different road, because I saw that Ashtrade's is using a unicorn model, and the unicorn model is basically, if you just look at it from far, it's basically the mentorship model, right? The 2022 mentorship model. It's exactly like that look. So I was immediately drawn to it, and I started to understand and study and learn all the concepts behind the way Ashtrade's goes about his day. Um, Understanding about breaker blocks, FEGs, understanding about market structure. One thing I did not know about, which I learned because of him, was the concept of higher time frame alignment with the lower time frame alignment, and also utilizing hard time frame POIs. I had no clue what the heck that was. I knew about an FEG, but I had no idea how to kind of put it all together. And I think this kind of leads to my point where there's so many different people that are willing to share what works for them, and obviously it's up to you to figure out who makes the most sense to you and who is able to make it click for you. And for me, it was Ash Trades. He was the guy that made everything click for me. I showed up every single day when he would have, or sorry, not, I would show up every week on his YouTube live, and I started just talking to people I knew who were part of his community. And ultimately I ended up joining the premium. I was like, I got to do this. And I think that's when I really took things to the next level in terms of my trading, because the bar that I thought, like where I thought the bar was set in terms of like where it was and like how high it was and where I am to that bar, was so much further, like so much higher than I could have ever imagined. I had no clue how high this bar was. And that literally humbled me, because I realized how much harder I have to work, how much more time I need to put into this thing if I want to be successful. Because I was watching other people inside his Discord, not only journaling in ways that were far superior than mine, but also their chart looked far superior than mine. Like I thought I had a clean chart, but then I looked at theirs and I'm like, holy crap, my chart's really messy. And this is such a beautiful looking chart. It's so clear. And they weren't using any indicators. They're just using price action, horizontal and vertical lines, boxes. Like, so to me, I just I couldn't believe it, that you can make money just by drawing lines on the screen, because I thought I needed indicators and I had to have crazy alignments with RSI and MACD and the moving average, Fibonacci. Like there's a lot of things that go to that type of a system, but I realized I don't need all that stuff. And it's good that I know it, but I don't need it. And I had to unlearn so much when I was inside the Unicorn University because my ego was getting in the way. And I'm sure like a lot of us have ego when we join a Discord or we join some sort of a mentorship, because the person who's mentoring or teaching is probably sharing some ideas that you're probably like, I don't know about that. And you might have the question like, well, don't you look at this time frame, or don't you use a bias? Don't you do this? And everyone's going to trade differently, but someone like Ash trades is trading the way he trades, and I had to literally just bite my tongue or bite my lip, because I would go against things he was doing, and then I would hit stop loss in my trade, and he would get +2. So I'm like, okay. So it's almost like I started having a challenge with him without him even knowing it. And over time, I started realizing, okay, I need to like bow out gracefully here and digest everything this person's telling me, because it's making sense and it's working. And that's what it did. And it hurt and it sucked at first, but I just kind of kept at it. And basically through there, I would say, I've met so many amazing people along the way on the journey, as I'm sure many people here are meeting all types of people and sharing trade ideas. And I love that stuff. And I still do that stuff. And especially if it's working for me, it makes sense. And it's not kind of done in a like a show off kind of way, like gloating and things like that. Because one thing we know in this industry, and even with crypto, it's like when you start posting pictures of your P&L, and you start posting pictures of like all the nice watches you have, or you bought a nice car, like that's usually like a topping signal in crypto. So I kind of have that mentality with
100%.
yeah, right,
I
like
love that.
yeah, like with this type of trading. And I know a lot of people share P&L, and that's cool. I don't take it the wrong way. I personally don't do that, because you can see the arrows on my chart. That tells you I'm in the trade. And obviously you can see I'm in the trade because I got in the trade with the timestamps earlier. So I'm kind of letting the work speak for itself. And I'm trying to stay humble by not flashing things or being too euphoric when, like, if I made like a $5,000 win, like, or a $10,000 win, I'm not gonna flash that, because I know that's gonna impact my mindset, and it's gonna have some sort of a reaction down the road, like vibrationally. And like I said, it does come back to that thing with people just flexing massively. That is just, it's like ingrained in me. It's like PTSD from bull cycle tops, which is basically what I'm looking for even now in space, which is like everyone's so scared and everything's quite bullish to me on the chart. So it's like the perfect time to be buying dips. Even on my Twitter, I was sharing, information about crypto. Let's see if I can find something I posted here quickly. Yeah, so BTC. Yeah, so like I had posted this on the 17th. And if I just open this up, when price was like going through this little dip here, and it took months to play out earlier in this year, but like that's a pretty big drop, right? It doesn't look like, but that's like about 30% drop on Bitcoin, which means altcoins got crushed. But if you look at it from a bigger picture, this is the most bullish looking chart I've ever seen. Like, we're going up, and this massive macro trend line is holding support. This indicator is just showing like a trend basically, and the trend is still strong. So for me, I've always been pretty bullish on crypto when everyone's scared. And even in Unicorn University, like, Ash has always been very vocal on the concept of like buy the fear type thing, and liquidations fuel the next rally kind of thing. And it's so true, because everyone got scared and sold at the bottom, and now price went back up, into the plus $100,000. And I do think it's going higher, but the point is just kind of observing other people's behavior when they're scared. That's when I buy. And it goes with that saying, right? Buy the fear, sell the greed. So with that in mind, that's what kind of put me back on track to just do the work, right? Nobody cares. Like, nobody, and that's the other thing, like, nobody cares what I'm doing. Even though there's 81 people in here and I really appreciate all of you, like, nobody cares what I'm doing. So I have to work harder to get to where I want to go. And that's been like my kind of like a quiet motto of mine in the back of my head. And it may not be the most positive thing, but sometimes, like for me, I need to kind of guilt myself into some things, and this is one of them. To stay with course is just, nobody cares. Work harder and keep showing up every day for yourself. So because of that, like I said, I've met so many amazing people in this industry. I've learned from so many different people here, and even found my way into the 2 Degrees family, which to me, I know when I first heard about the stat map, I was like, um, I was just completely amazed at this indicator. I thought it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But the problem for me was I was already successful using the unicorn model, and I didn't know how to implement it properly, and it started to disrupt my trading. So the point of this is just you got to be very careful with how you introduce things into your system, especially if like your system's working. And this will bring me to my next segment, which is the model I trade. There's a saying, I think, from Robert Kiyosaki. He says, focus, and that stands for follow one course until successful. And that's basically what I've spent my time doing, is just following one course. Just my core routine, my core principle is the C2 unicorn. And I've made adjustments to the way Ash trades a unicorn. And I think that's the beauty of trading, is like independent thinking, which is something else that's highly promoted in there. It's just, follow your own like gut, follow your own intuition, make the information make sense to you, and then back test, journal, prove profitability, follow the data to make decisions. Don't let the emotions dictate your decisions. Don't let somebody's P&L inside Discord or Twitter impact the way you decide to trade. We get ideas from all over the place, and I think with technology now too, it's like so many people are able to do so many things. Like the fact with like you guys, like that you guys being able to create these indicators, is, to me, it just blows my mind, because I remember using TradingView back in 2017 and what it looked like and what it felt like and the types of indicators there. So to see the evolution of these indicators and the people who are behind the creation of these indicators, it just lets me know that like people are very smart in this space. There's a lot of smart people in this space, and they're all coming into this space in different angles, and they're presenting information in different ways. So, while you might want to take all of it in, you have to be careful with the information you're taking in, because it will impact you. And I know some of the best traders don't even know what other people are doing, because they're just working on themselves, right? They're just working on their model and what works, and that's about it. So I'll take a pause there, and I'm not sure if there's any questions or anything like that, or anyone else, or Josh, if you have anything to say.
Drop a one if you're with us. You got a lot of people listening to you. There's about 87 people in here that have kind
Appreciate it.
joined in and been listening to your journey and remarkable stories about your experiencing. And I just want to make sure that, again, what's being emphasized here is seeing how you're able to really go back into your past from your journal and have that entire experience of self-growth and self-reflection. And we've had you come on here, we've had Picasso come on here, and other people that A Sign of Time has come on here, and really just stress the outlining of the fact of just the journaling aspect and how you can see your own progress develop over time, of whether or not the tools you use, the type of entry model you use, the type of confluences that you like to look at. And like that is just extremely empowering, so that you can also know that like you're just constantly improving, staying open-minded, critical, being over there with Ash Trades, and how he looks at the market, and being the psychological look that he employs on the market is just very critical as well. Like he's a beautiful example, honestly, the way I can say it, for someone that has the right discipline and mentality into the markets. And I really appreciate his efforts, because he sets a very nice example to the community as well. And I'm sure that you can probably attest to, saying that, like, if you weren't around people that, conduct themselves a specific way, hold themselves to a certain accountability and responsibility, and let's just call it like their aura. Like you can't expect to be growing if you're gonna be around people that are not like that. So it's like when you're around people like that, by default, it's just gonna start to happen. It sounds more magical than it is, but it's really just the truth. People you hang out around and are around, you want to be around successful people, and people that you care about are not, let's just call it, in it for the wrong reasons. You don't want to be basically seeing everyone that's just, posting P&Ls all the time, because at the end of the day, like that's one day. Like what about tomorrow? And that's, what everybody needs to be preparing themselves for, because everybody can hit a trade today and have either a win or loss, but you're only as good as your next trade. And it's really important that people recognize that discipline in their own routine.
Yeah, I just want to touch on one awesome thing you mentioned was just the type of people you surround yourself with. I think that is like, even though we're all online digitally, we are all kind of surrounded by one another. So if you're posting and chatting, like we are still surrounding ourselves with other people and the type of information they put in. And I will say it's like extremely hard to find good Discord groups. Like to me, the 2 Degrees Discord is like phenomenal. It's just even my experience being in here, prior to anything that you know I've done here, it's just like people have been very cool. There's a lot of amazing traders inside here, and they're sharing amazing stuff that they're either they're learning from other amazing traders. Like for me, even before any of all this, like I was like um, gravitating to a lot to what Poison was showing, because I've never seen anything like that before. Like the way he looks at the market, and then even Nine is another person. So and a lot of it's just because of these streams, but my point is, like, I'm trying to surround myself with other like-minded professionals that are, putting in the time and the effort to learn and to work, and not asking for the handout. Right? They're not saying, "Oh, what are your results? What is your RR?" Like they're actually like, "Oh, I have a journal, and here's my. If you want to see, I'll share you my journal with you. Sure, no problem." And it's like that type of mentality. Um, so for me, like I find like there's a lot of value here in 2 Degrees Discord. Obviously, I'm part of Unicorn University, and like that's where I learned everything. And to me, I wouldn't be in there if there wasn't so many amazing people in there as well. So big shout out to Ash Trades and to White Chocolate for what they've done there, and for what they've done for me, as well as you guys too, right, Josh? And too, like you guys have been amazing to me. And I'm so super grateful, and just for anything that's been given to me. My job is to obviously focus on my trading, but I also believe in selfless service, and I want to also try to give back too. And this is why anyone that knows me knows, like, if you start a conversation with me in my DM on like inside the Discord, like you're going to get like 100% from me, and I'm going to ask 0% back from you of anything. I don't want anything or need anything from anybody. I just get gratitude from helping people, and anyone who I have helped knows exactly what I'm talking about. And with that being said, I just love the vibration, the good vibes. We all know in trading, your mindset is 80% of this thing. You could be amazing with your technical ability, but if your mindset sucks, then your trading is going to suck. I was introduced to a book called Best Loser Wins, and I highly recommend this book to people. I'm running a study mastermind inside Unicorn. You're kind of like I'm studying these books chapter by chapter slowly. And shout out to it's a Alco, because in his Discord I noticed he was doing something like that, and I was 100% aligned with that. And big shout out to that guy, because that dude is all star. Um, so yeah, Best Loser Wins. Definitely get a chance to read that book when you can. I'm not sure if there's any other questions in the chat. I'm just gonna quickly scroll back. Is that cool, Josh? If I just go back and just see.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been looking at the chat too. I'm always able to answer any
Oh, perfect.
questions if people have stuff as well. If something comes up, definitely kind of
Oh, someone actually asked a question here. Cat Daddy. How to manage the pressure if you don't find your setup in between 9:30 and 11:30. This is actually such a huge topic because I find okay, so like me personally, when I was trading and I had my journal, one of the big mistakes I used to find myself repeating was trading outside the time window, the kill zone. Um, when I would kind of tally up my losses, like, and I would read my notes, it was always traded outside the time. The setup looks so good, but traded outside the time. So ultimately, at some point, if I'm going to keep making that mistake, I'm going to keep seeing stop loss hits. So stop doing that. So in terms of the pressure, I just remind myself of those old journals I have where I was repeating those mistakes and, do your best to not make them. I tell this to people inside Unicorn University, like, if it's a fresh kind of problem for you, such as something like this, like the pressure building up, like write down a note for yourself, like keep it in front of you or print it out, like type it up, print it out, keep it in front of you at all times when you're trading, because when you're trading, there is so much emotion that will overcome like the challenges that you're facing. And we all know how intense it can get when you're trading and you're trying to analyze. And if you're trading multiple assets at a time, you need like a high level of focus. So having these notes in front of you can keep you, grounded for one thing. So I would just say those two things to answer your question. Did I trade today? No, I did not trade today. I did not see. Actually, I was going to go over when we talk about my model here that I use. I wanted to go over CL today, but no, I did not take a trade. I followed my rules and I did not enter the trade. Do you keep contact? So Sunny asked, do you keep contact with any of the people you met early on in your trading journey? And do any of them have the same success as you? So funny story. When I first kind of entered the crypto space in 2018, I had, like I said, I was in crypto, and I'm still in touch with two people that were basically like my internet friends, my best friends on the internet from 2018, and we still have our little group on Telegram. So much so like the three of us had actually started a Telegram crypto channel back in the day, and had like 5,000 people following us, and so and just kind of like answering questions and helping people understand how crypto works and the ins and outs of transferring crypto from one wallet to another wallet or to an exchange, because it is a little tricky, and a lot of people are kind of scared because, and I get it, because I would be too. Like, you're clicking a button, and if you're transferring a large sum of money and you're clicking a button and you have no, pretty scary, especially when it doesn't show up. So I took some time back then to kind of really understand the dynamics behind how cryptocurrency is transferred and ways to kind of rectify issues. So we used to do stuff like that, help people out. So yeah, I mean, I'm still in touch with them. In terms of the success, I would think these guys are more successful. They were more successful. So I know they're definitely more successful than me. But the big difference is that where crypto kind of connected us, we've all kind of gone our own separate way. So one of my buddies in that group is still doing what he's doing, holding long-term positions spot with crypto. The other guy I know was trading forex and then slowly backed off and got more into the business end of crypto business related endeavors. And you guys know with me, like, I dove even deeper into trading dynamics and wanted to really become a trader. Like, that's what I wanted. So yeah, that's what I followed. Just going through the chat. Flux has a quote: "You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you." Oh, sorry. You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. That's pretty neat. I like that. Ripa says, my biggest pet peeve is when people post charts of what they've come up with on where price is headed and don't thoroughly outline their charts and say how they came to that conclusion. It confuses a lot of people and can be frustrating. So I found that not sitting there studying someone else's chart and trying to figure out, it's better not to. It's far better just to listen to the content that fits your trading edge that you're trying to master. Just my opinion. Yeah, I mean, there's so many concepts out there, and I think the beauty with TradingView is and ICT is that TradingView has given us the visual advantage. It's like, leveled the playing field between professional traders and retail traders, and we all kind of come in here. And then on the other side of this, there's people like ICT who've taken a lot of concepts from the past and remarketed them, but this has created a massive movement amongst all of us traders, right? Like we're all trading what we call ICT to a certain degree. Now, amongst all that, there's so many different concepts being thrown out there that you can use. If I think about Sniper, who has that forever model, like I think he's a great example of someone who's taken SMT, hard time frame alignment, market maker model, and then the change of state of delivery, order block, confirmation entry, and kind of taken those concepts, put them together, and we have a forever model that shows profitability. So it's just an example. I'm sure there's many other examples, but that's just one example that obviously Ash Trades has the unicorn model. That's the unicorn, the FEG inside the breaker, the liquidity sweep, the hard time frame alignments. It's like a lot of similar concepts. But you're right. You gotta figure out what works for you, because a lot of people use, and I'll just kind of put this out there. This is a big difference between how people think maybe, but a lot of people use daily bias to trade. I do not use a daily bias to trade. And I was kind of chuckling about this last night because I know it's something a lot of people do. And when people start talking to me and asking me questions like, oh, what about your... Well, I don't use a higher time frame bias. And they're like, what do you mean you don't use a high? It's like blasphemy, right? But I don't use it. I'll explain to you why in a moment. But like I said, it's just how you piece these concepts together to make it fit into a model that works and makes sense for you. And then, like I said, with the back testing and the journaling, that's what's going to help you, determine if your model is profitable or not. Once you can see that it's profitable through your spreadsheet or your journal or whatever, beyond that, it's all mindset and your risk management, right? Because like if I take a trade, okay, let me back up. If I take 10 trades in a month and 8 are wins and 2 are losses, but on each trade I'm not risking the same amount of money, I'm gonna mess up my numbers completely, right? Because what happens if I took $100 trade on 8 of those 10 trades, but on the 2 that I lost, I decided to go $600 and I lost, right? So now I'm down $1,200. Whereas if I should have just been sticking to that same number, right? That same risk of $100, then you start seeing the impact of profitability from a data perspective. So that's another huge thing I had to learn, was just not FOMOing into like higher risk because I thought the trade looked amazing, and I'm like, oh my god, I can make 10, I can make multiple thousands of dollars if I just risk this much, but then on another trade I'll risk way less, like half that, for no reason, because it doesn't look good. But guess what? The one that didn't look good ends up going 2R, and the one that I thought looked really good, which I over leveraged on, stop loss, and now my stats are all messed up. Nothing makes sense. So highly recommend just sticking to one like range of risk, whether it's $100 or like $300 to $500 or something like that. Just be consistent with your trades and how you manage them that way. How did you end up incorporating StatMap into your unicorn model? I'm going to go sec. Orange asks, how do you manage your trading layout, your universe? I have issues with too many layouts, screens, and get lost. Yeah, it's true. Like that's why I mentioned earlier, like you have to follow one course until you're successful. I learned this because of Ash. Ash is literally just trading NQ. He has ES on the screen. Occasionally he'll pop a CL trade. but NQ is it basically, and that's what you get on his screens. If you went on a YouTube public live stream, people are asking, "Oh, can you check 6E?" And he's like, "No, I'm trading NQ." To me, I learned something massive from that because he's just following one thing, and for me, that was a huge foundational piece of knowledge, was to just do one thing, and that's what I did. Just do one thing, and then when you become an expert on it and you have the proof behind why you think you're an expert on it, right? Then you can start to build on these things. And that's kind of where I'm at now in my with trading, is that I feel like I've proven to myself that I'm like, the core concept for my trading is the C2 unicorn, but I am starting to bring in other trading models into my journey because I'm able to kind of manage them. So I would just say start slow and don't rush the process. Don't buy into the FOMO. Just follow one course until you're successful. Someone asked, I missed it, but what platform do you use for your journaling? I use Notion. I used to use the Google spreadsheet, but then I got introduced to Notion, and I haven't looked back. I've just been on Notion. I just think it's amazing. It's just so easy to use and very, very fast. Someone asked here, Ashwin, yo, can you talk about which time frame you usually take trades on? For me, I place sometimes a 3-minute works, sometimes a 15-minute works, and occasionally even the hour, but the 3-minute ones keep shifting later, so they're hard to trust. Do you just keep rolling the breaker blocks no matter what? And do you treat them, breaker blocks, the same as order blocks, or is that a separate concept? Okay, so a lot to unpack with that question. I will say to you this, and like, sticking to your time frame alignment is insanely important. So, from learning with ICT concepts, we know that those time frame alignments are, daily and 1 hour, 1 hour and 5 minute, 4 hour and 15 minute, and 50 minute and 1 minute, right? So if you're like bouncing around between 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, you're not going to have any sort of synchronicity with your alignments, like your time frame alignments and the concepts that go behind why they're there in the first place. This is a big deal because, like, when I joined Ashtray's Unicorn University, I was trained the 1 minute. I showed you that 2022 ICT mentorship model side, and like, I came into the unicorn with the 1 minute's not for me, so I moved up to the 5 minute. But guess what? There's not many setups compared to the 1 minute on the 5 minute, and that was a huge, learning opportunity for me because I was experiencing FOMO, seeing people take all these trades on the 1 minute, and meanwhile I'm sitting on my hands thinking, how come I'm not getting any trades? Like, what's going on here? It's in those moments where if I started to shift and take those trades in the 1 minute, guess what? Stop loss. And you know why? Because you're going to get more trades on lower time frame, but you're also going to get more losses on a lower time frame, and potentially less wins, right? Just because of how the averages work out sometimes. So I would just say I'm only using the 5 minute time frame. That is the only time frame I use. My alignments, actually, you can see it on the screen right here, are the hourly and the 5 minute. I use the daily for some bias, but ultimately it's just a lot of my work is done on the each one and the 5 minute. So, and then in terms of, like, breaker blocks and order blocks, I think based off of the model you're trading, you have to kind of adhere to one or the other. I can see the difference between them as they're forming on a chart, but just because I see that doesn't mean I'm gonna, like, discretionarily jump into a trade because I see an order block. If I'm trading, say, a unicorn, because when I trade a unicorn, I'm entering off the breaker block, not the order block. If I'm trading like a 2 minute time frame model with the stat map, then I am entering off of, I could be entering off of an order block, or I could be entering off of an IFVG. So it's just model specific. And the only reason I would say it's model specific is because I have the data to back up where my entry should be. Because I'm profitable if I enter from here when I'm trading this model, and I'm profitable if I enter from the breaker block if I trade this model. So I would just say, once again, to do that and to find data. Someone asked what does C2 stand for. I will get into that in a second. I just want to make sure I've answered all the questions that were here. Jort says, the only thing I don't understand is the POI. How do you determine that? I sometimes look back a few days and then it is the 15-minute high right on your left side, and then you get a reversal. So yeah, with POIs, like I said, I'm going to jump into that as well, because that's a massive piece of trading IQ I learned last year, and obviously it's a massive concept to the unicorn model. So yeah, Josh, you okay if I jump into charts and stuff like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Looks like
Okay.
there's a bunch of questions that got an answer. Looks like everyone's being
Cool.
very attentive, interactive. I really appreciate everyone's contributions to making this a wonderful discussion. So yeah, whenever you're feeling that
Awesome.
you want to share your charts, then definitely we can go over there.
Cool. So I'll just quickly go over this and then we'll do that. So I do trade the C2 unicorn. It is a mashup of concepts and foundations I learned from Ashtrade's Unicorn University, and I did a lot of studying with Day Trading Realtor, who's going to be live streaming here later this week. Who's a phenomenal person, amazing trader, and amazing business. But I had a lot of studying with him, and I was noticing he was using this thing called the C2, and I was like, "What the hell's a C2?" And obviously, I had no clue. I didn't even know who T-Trades was, to be honest with you. And I had actually watched a lot of this guy's videos, and I had so Day Trading Realtor was like, "Hey, this is a T-Trades concept that's where he got it from." So I ended up joining T-Trades Discord just to study more about this concept, and I was still studying a lot with Day Trading Realtor on the side. Just to, I was just bouncing question after question off of him, and he was so cool to help me out with answering questions. But yeah, the C2 unicorn is a mashup of the higher time frame hourly 3-candle sweep, which is like a PO3 or AMD, right? Accumulation, manipulation, and distribution. It's like that kind of concept. But aligning the higher time frame reversal inside a higher time frame POI. That's how I kind of utilize it a bit, and I'll show you guys in a sec. So I do trade the unicorn. My kill zone is the New York AM kill zone. I trade primarily CL from 8:30 in the morning to about 12 p.m. Eastern. I like to start 30 minutes a little earlier than the open, which is at 9, because I have noticed, and like I said, I'm letting the data speak for itself here, is my data has shown me that there are times where unicorn setups that form around 8:30, maybe 8:40, as that macro kind of begins. If I'm starting at 9, I would miss these because I'm following my rules, right? I'm not going to trade at 9. And next thing I know, unicorn forms. I'm sitting on my hands going, what the hell just happened? So I started noticing this happen over and over and over. So then I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to change my 8:30 now. That's why I started 8:30 now. And, I do catch unicorns from that time, and I kind of feel good about it because I know I made the right adjustment and I based it off of data. In terms of the time frame that I trade, like I said, I trade off the 5-minute. That's where I'm looking for my entry function. I use the hourly for my higher time frame POI, right? So my POIs are consisting of like swing highs, swing lows. These are external range of liquidity pools or levels, and then I also use internal range. So these are bearish and bullish FEGs. In terms of the daily bias, like I said, I don't use daily bias the direction I'm going to trade. And the reason I don't do that is because I utilize the C2 to replace that that layer of confluence or alignment. The C2 is basically giving me a higher time frame reference point that like a reversal is going to form. And as I started trading more and more of the unicorn, I started realizing that like I'm not a continuation trader, I'm a reversal trader. And that's the beauty of trading, is as you start to really learn more about yourself, you start to learn more about like your mindset, your psychology, you start to learn more about your emotional habits, your bad habits, your behaviors, how you stress out, how you how you handle that stress, like the coping mechanisms. And then in terms of the trading, like I really started to figure out 5 minute is my time frame. I don't like to really trade continuations. And that's kind of a big difference between, which is why I kind of say I take a map, some of these T trade concepts and some of the Ash trades concepts, because I believe T trades is trading off the C3, and with me, because I'm trading the unicorn and I love to trade that's coming off of a higher time frame POI. Most of the time I'm trading actually inside C2 candle, that manipulation candle. So big shout out to T Trades. And in terms of confluences, some confluences are external range liquidity or internal range liquidity. That's a mouthful. I use the C2 fractal alignment, like another couple of things I ranges. So this could be like Asia high, London high, Asia EQ, London EQ, Asia low, London low. So to me, I mark all of those. I used to mark them on my chart all the time. Now I don't need to, because I have an indicator that, like most of us, that just visually kind of shows it to me, so I can kind of eye it. But this is a huge confluence area for me that I'd like to see line up with higher time frame POIs. And since I got access to the 2-degree indicators, I'm using the T-Trace's fractal model indicator, and there's something called a T-spot in there. And to me, I use that as a massive confluence area. So like if I'm already in a trade before the C2 confirms, meaning before that hourly closes, if that T-spot is there, it's going to come after the hour, like that C2 candle confirms. That's usually when it will plot everything on the chart. And then I'll look at that T-spot already, sometimes being in the trade and already understanding like the potential of where price could go. So I love using that as a confluence, because I love seeing if price is going to respect it. And when it does respect it, it's like a thing of beauty. It's like a thing of art, just watching the price unfold, and you're just kind of sitting back watching and studying it, being a student of the game. To me, that's such a good feeling as a trader. And then in terms of tools and indicators, so the 2 degrees tools that I use are the OHLC StatMap by Joshu. I also use the fractal model indicator, which is by T-Trades, the legend. And I also found another indicator when I was going through the Elite collection, and it's called the AR Levels Pro. I think this is a house. Josh, this is one of the 2 degrees in suite indicators, right? If I'm not
Absolutely.
mistaken.
These are the premium suite absolute legend OG tools that most people don't get a lot of let's call it oversight to, but I know that we're cooking in the kitchen. I know that there's someone in the audience that knows what I'm talking about, but definitely the average range levels is something that is a wonderful tool, and it's actually getting some more upgrades pretty soon. So if people are excited about that and you use that, it's going to be very, very, very exciting.
Yeah, so I mean, AR Levels Pro is such a cool indicator, because it utilizes the average daily range. That's what it's basically doing, right? Average daily range. But it's using, I believe it's an ICT concept back from 2014, if I'm not mistaken, where I think ICT had mentioned the 1/3 ADR levels as being important manipulation levels to monitor. So, and I'll show you on CL what happened today. It's exactly what I kind of look for. But to me, it's just another level of confidence. I love that. It gives me a little bit more confidence, like in the level, especially when things line up. Obviously, with TradingView tools, I'm using ICT Kill Zones Toolkit, and I also liked having a fair value gap by Anj, because it's just something I've used since, as long as I can remember. And I find now, because I need to know where these fair value gaps are, my eyes sometimes play tricks on me, as probably most of us. We don't see these small little FEGs, but I find by having that indicator there, it spots them for me and plots them for me, so I don't have to really go searching. And I think that's the beauty of these indicators. Like I said, there's so many smart people in this field that they've created a lot of a lot of tools that can help automate the process. And I think it's like absolutely fantastic because it makes our life as a trader that much easier. And it's not, there's nothing to be ashamed about with using them. I know it could be this thing about like, using indicators versus not using indicators, but, or like, being lazy if you're using an indicator. For me, I spend most of my time manually doing things anyway, and I'd highly recommend to start there besides using an indicator. Do things manually first, and then when you become like very proficient with it, then start adding because sometimes the indicator is wrong, but because you have that manual experience, you know when it's wrong. Um, so there is that to consider. I also, like I said, use Notion, my backtesting journals, which I shared a little bit about already. I also have a daily schedule and a routine in there that kind of help me map out like what I'm doing, like if I am trading a different model, and I also have once again my actual trading journal, so not the backtesting ones, but my thing, or like my forward testing live trades that I take. So okay, so we're gonna get to some trades now. I know the chart stuff is the good stuff. Just gonna open it up quickly. I think I'm gonna have to just switch my screen. I'm just gonna reopen it. Just give me a sec. All right, can you guys all see the chart?
Just see Discord right now.
You still see Discord? Okay, one sec.
Also, just a heads up, try to not share the audio of your stream so it doesn't echo twice for someone that's in the audience. So there's an option to share the audio with the screen.
Understood. Okay, how about now?
Yep,
My voice is okay?
perfect.
All right. Okay, so let's get to the charts. Let's double check which chart I'm on. Okay, so let's go to this one. So, like I said, I trade the C2 unicorn, and what I'll do is I'll basically kind of walk everybody through how I analyze the chart, like how I start my day when I log into my computer at 8:20 in the morning. Um, Believe it or not, the first thing I'm doing is I have all indicators off. I have nothing on my screen. I want to just see the price and just see where everything is going. The other thing is I'm also looking at the daily. Even though I don't use a daily bias to start my day, um, I do think it's important to always know where the higher time frame sits. So if you are taking a trade that's kind of going against, say, a higher time frame bias, at least you're aware of that. There's nothing like being blindsided and then things go against you. You don't know why. So for me, one of the big things I do first is just figure out where I am in the bigger picture. So like something like today, which looks like a pretty blippy kind of day, which it was. What I did see was that we have a daily bullish FEG here at the Thursday candle wicked into. So usually what that tells me is I'm looking for a bias from internal range liquidity to external range liquidity. So external range liquidity would be up here. I'll just kind of mark it like this. I also have a box I can use. So my chart will end up looking something like this, right? Now, that's the first thing I do. Then I start to look a little closer. And the reason I look a little closer is, like I said, my indicator will show these FEGs, but I have to still manually know how to do it. I can't just rely on that. And the reason being is right in here, there's actually a small little FEG, a bearish one. And you can see the indicator is not showing it. So I could easily have missed this. But it's there. It's small, but it's there. And I'll also mark that. So at this point, when I'm looking at a chart like this, I'm seeing that we've had a reaction from a daily bullish FEG. I wanted price to go up here, but the thing is, price will always do whatever it wants whenever it wants. My mentor, Ash Trades, has always said. And just because I want it to go here and fit my bias doesn't mean it's going to do it. And I have to also be aware of what's there and to trade the most recent price action. So for me, when I'm trading the most recent price action, I'm looking at where it is right now and what price is respecting. And right now, price is respecting this daily bearish FEG. So to me, this is done. This has been wiped out. We still have our daily ERL up here, but we're rejecting from here. So at this point, if I was to consider a bias, I'm actually bearish, not bullish anymore. Even though price didn't end up going here, the reason I'm bearish is because yesterday's candle below it. And as of right now, today's candle is still below it. And we got wicks here, but it's still below it. It's kind of looking like a Tuesday top. So the next thing I do is I go to the hour. And when I'm on the hourly, I'm once again looking for the same type of thing. I'm looking for POIs. Now, these POIs to me are where I actually, which I'll actually use to dictate the trade direction. So on a day like today, it's been a really, really tricky day, and I'll show you why. So if I just back this up to about here, right? So it's like about 9 and 10. What this is telling me is, yes, we have the daily rejection up here. It most recently rejected at 4 in the morning, and then as the pre-session for New York started to begin, we got another wick up into this area again, right? And it respected it. But at the same time, I know that there's also a sweep here. So for me, this hourly sweep is also another key level. So I'm always just marking out levels of interest when I get to the chart, no matter what. So in this situation, it was and always what is the most recent. So we have a sweep here. We have a higher time frame bearish FEG. I also know that there's another bullish FEG down here. So I'll just mark that as well. I think it's also good practice and exercise to do stuff like this because it just mentally, like it just trains your eyes to see things. So like you catch those small FEGs that you might have missed otherwise. And also just like, just the price action itself. You want to follow it. So at this point, this is what I'm looking at. Okay, so there's not much going on here. I'll then jump to the 5-minute entry function is at, and this is kind of where I can start looking at more of the stuff to see like what happened during Asia, what happened, New York opened. So like I said, I start trading CL from 8:30, right? So that's about here. Okay, and New York opens at 9. It's about here. So when I'm looking at this chart on the lower time frame, I still have no indicators on except for the session ranges. So I have my high, there's an EQ here for 8. And I like to use the entire range. I don't just use the kill zone range. For me, my preference is I like to use so if Asia starts at 6, it starts at 6. If Asia runs to the overlap of 3 a.m. when London starts, then that's where my session for Asia starts and ends, and then London picks up from 3 a.m. and that'll run till 9. And then from 9 onwards is New York. So I like to use these ranges in that way. And then what I start to do is I try to examine what has happened in the past. So what happened in London is, what's known as a search and destroy, right? So prices opened up at London and it swept the lows and then immediately swept the highs. And then it's kind of consolidated back inside a massive range. So for me, when I'm looking at this, the first thing I'm thinking is this is search and destroy. And one of the key concepts I learned in UU was when you have a search and destroy model during New York, the best thing to do is to trade the extremes of the range back to the EQ. So even before today started, I was already looking for price to either sweep the high or to sweep the low to look for a trade. And ideally, I would like to see the low because price is located much closer to here than to up here. And usually if trying to catch, a rocket as it's flying is never a good idea, right? On those retracements, you need to have a specific model and a plan for that. So for me, I was primarily hoping we would have seen something here. I'm going to take the daily thing off here because I want you to just be able to see everything kind of clear cut. And so when New York opens, I'm observing this London EQ. There's an Asia EQ here, and the beauty of, like I said, of these levels is there's a lot of respect that price has for these levels, and I do think often it's a little overlooked. So I'm just bringing some light to it, that you can see that there's like clear, as London is opening and playing out, it's respecting that Asia EQ, right? We have the low here and the high here, and even here, like it respected the high, swept it 2 times and closed inside the Asia high or underneath the Asia high. So when New York opens, these levels are still in play. And one of the big things we know trading New York, we're always looking for that London low or London high. It's very, very key area. So as prices opening and playing out, I have nothing really to work with on the hourly, because the only point of reference I had on the hourly was that daily bearish FEG, which has already been kind of tagged a bunch of times. So I don't really want to trade off of that. I want to trade off of like unmitigated areas. So to me, the most unmitigated area was basically that London low. And then I know that there's a bullish FEG. Today I already knew, for me, even though the daily was looking bearish, this is me showing you how I'm actually trading kind of counter trend in a way, because I'm looking at the hour to dictate the direction I'm going to trade. So right off the bat, that's what I'm looking for. And I had actually mentioned this on Twitter, that I posted something about this where in our Discord, I had actually made a note about it, that this is what I was looking for. And then sure enough, price ended up hitting here. And there's some other confluence in a sec. One of the key things is that I then start to do is I start to then bring up the session, or sorry, the OHLC stat map. And I prefer to use the ranges. I think, yeah, that's, sorry, my Twitter is at Traderxkira, exactly like you got it there. I try to keep everything easy and uniform. So with the stat map, what I love from these updates that that have been made are that I'm able to create the range on its own, like automatically. Before I used to set the median setting right here, calculation method. So it used to just be mean or median, and then what I would do is kind of make my own ranges with both, because sometimes I like, for me, I perfect level, especially when it comes to the 5-minute time frame unicorn. So this, I got really excited. I thought it was amazing. Because when I looked at it on my screen, everything just looks so much clearer to me as to like where the actual key data points are. So I already also knew before price had opened there at New York. Just start about here. I'm already starting to now align my day of what I'm looking for on CL. So with CL, I was looking for London low, because we're trading extremes to the range. I can see that I have a H1 bullish FEG down here. And then when I pop up the stat map, I know that I have a daily plus manipulation level here, this range. So everything's kind of aligned here. Now, what makes this even more beautiful is I then will add my AR levels pro indicator. And like I said, we're looking for the 1/3 ADR levels to be tagged. And if I just zoom in a bit more here, this is also here, right near London. So I have a lot of hope that price was going to come down here, and that maybe this is a place where I could catch a long from. Of course, you got to be like water, right? Like Bruce Lee says, you got to adapt to that change. So I'm just waiting for New York to show me what it's going to do. So as New York starts to do its thing, we get that massive dump. Now, another massive thing I use is that TTFM indicator, the fractal indicator by T-Trades. So for me, what I use on this is literally, I love having the higher time frame candles come up, and I'm looking for that C2 to form, and I want to trade that reversal. I want to catch a unicorn with a C2 reversal. So I waited for price to just kind of come lower, 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 lower. Get in stat map level, perfect. We sweep London low, perfect. We sweep the 1/3 ADR level, amazing. Do I need it to hit the bullish FEG? At this point, no, I don't, because it's already tagged the most important level, which is the London low. That is a huge signal. So the next thing I'm looking for in my criteria is, okay, I have the higher time frame POI, perfect. I need to now see if we're going to get a unicorn in here, and then see if a C2 fractal confirms next. And this all has to happen inside of my trading window, which is 8:30 to 12. So I have a time limit on when I can do things. So right off the bat of the day, I can already tell based off of these hourly candles what kind of day I'm going to have. Because if nothing is showing up from a C2 perspective, I already know I'm not going to be catching a C2 probably today. And as the hour goes by and plays out a little longer, just further gives me evidence that I don't have to trade today if I don't want to, like unless I'm forcing something. But this only kind of made sense to me later in my kind of my trading journey about being able to just like be okay with that, like be okay that I might not trade today, because I know a lot of people want to trade every day. They, I got to make $500 today to pay out. I need 8 payout days. I need to go payout in but like to me, that's like obviously not the right way to go about it, because you're forcing trades. You're not trading your system properly in the way that will make you profitable. So when London gets swept, I'm literally just waiting to see for a unicorn. I'm on the 5-minute time frame. My entry that's all. Now what we end up getting is actually a C2 form in a bearish perspective. So that's not what I want to see. There's a T spot that starts to form here from a bearish perspective. So now I'm already starting to get the vibe that today's going to be a write-off for me. Nothing's going to show up. But that doesn't mean I still can't show up to study. I find by still being present, even though I know I might not get a trade, being present to study, to take note, to see how price moves, there's no better teacher than live price action. So I kept studying. I'm continuing to watch how this goes. I'm seeing the T spot being respected. But the thing is, with this type of a setup, like for me, remember, we're in an hourly swing low. So to go bearish here doesn't make really much sense to me. It doesn't fit my model. I only take longs from swing lows and bullish FEGs, and I take shorts from swing highs and bearish FEGs. So if one of those is not aligned, then I can't take that trade. So as I'm waiting for this to continue to play out, and I'm being mindful of the time, which is 12, a lot has to happen here, right? Now another hour is closed, and we can see that there still isn't a C2 from a bullish perspective. There's only this bearish C2. So I'm just waiting. Now at 11:30, like I said, price will do whatever it wants whenever. And sure enough, a C2 now starts to form. And this is what I mean, where I don't have to necessarily for the confirmation. I'm just kind of looking to see if something starts to form. A big piece to this is if a unicorn actually were to have formed here inside the C2, then that's the confirmation that I need. And something I learned from day trading realtor, because I actually used to wait for the C2 to close. It means I was a little bit more aligned with how trades is doing, with waiting for the C2 to close, and I was trying to catch that unicorn on the C3. Problem is, most of the time the C2 would just already be long gone, and I'd miss it. And I'm right there knowing it's a good trade, but yet I miss it because I had a rule that I was waiting. So I stopped waiting, took DTR's advice, and catch these unicorns sometimes that form inside the C2. So at this point, I still already know there's no trade here, right? And there's 12 o'clock. So what I was looking at for this setup from a unicorn perspective was I had my sweep, a little bigger, right? Remember the hard time frame POI alignments? We have London low, we have the daily manipulation discounted zone of the OHLC stat map, and we also have that 1380R level being tagged. So for me, this is really, really good. I'm now going to set my breaker block. So with a breaker block, you're looking, if people don't know, you're just looking for the highest. If you're going bullish, you're just looking for the highest up close candle before the leg down that takes liquidity. and you're looking for institutional swing points. So we know there's a swing high here, there's a swing low here, there's a swing high here, and then there's no additional swing institutional swing points before the leg that takes liquidity, which is right here. So that means to me, this is my breaker block. And I'll mark it like such. Have my little unicorn there to make it look cool. And then I'm marking my setup. So the way I set my setup is I will have my entry at the top of the breaker. My stop loss would go at the bottom of the breaker, and there's a bunch of different ways to set a trade up like this, because with your stop loss, some people like to set it at the low, or like a point away, maybe, right? It's a protected low. When I first started trading the unicorn, this is exactly what I did. I used to trade with my stop loss right at the bottom because I was very new and not very sure of myself and sure of the model. So I thought if I just give myself more wiggle room, maybe I'll win a trade. But the problem with that for me was that it actually then set my TP even further away. Now, if I look at it like this, there's a nice, alignment here at the top of the range. But like I said, when it comes to trading like search and destroy method, we're trading the extreme of the range back to the EQ, which is right about here, right? So my TP being here is not ideal. So what I started doing was, with my notes, I started to kind of figure out like where should my stop loss be placed. So I actually now use static stop loss points. So when it comes to CL, I'm actually using a 3-point stop loss, which is static. So if this is my breaker, I'll be honest with you, I sometimes even cheat a little because you got to use a little logic. So even though this is my breaker, you see there's a wick here at 11 that just goes down 1 cent more. Sometimes I'll just do this and I'll cheat a little. And the reason I do it is just because it's a discretionary decision that I'm going to make. So because it just gives me a little bit, I just feel a little bit safer. And if it's only making me move point, what's the big deal? So I'm going to do that and set it like this. My TP is always going to be +2 with this model. Okay, so I'm looking for something up here, which is near the daily open. Okay, this is how I would have lined it up. Trade played out. So this is the setup I had. This is how I would have set the whole thing up and watched it play out. And then my time limit hits. I now have to, come to the understanding that I'm not trading today. And no matter what happens from this point onward, I have to follow my rules. That's what keeps me safe. I know that the best trades or the most high probability trade setups that I take on CL with the C2 unicorn are going to happen in the New York session. And the CL is a little bit funny because sometimes you will catch 11:59. We joke about this. The setup happens at 11:59. There's like a lunchtime rush that usually happens, but I still try to maintain my criteria. And if I let this kind of play out, sure enough, C2 confirms. That's what it looks like. And the next thing is, okay, well, now we have but it has confirmed after 12. And we got our FEGs inside the breaker, which is perfect. So when the second this candle closes at 12:15 above the breaker, that's our confirmation that the unicorn is working. And this is that mashup I talked about, which is Ashtrade's unicorn model, bam, and then T-Trade's C2 fractal alignment, which is this right here. So for me, like I said, I love trading reverse. That is what I do. And if you look at this, price was, it's kind of shitty price action, but it was trending down. And you could say this is kind of your reversal here. And I'm basing it off of, so this is why I don't use the daily buy, because I'm replacing it with this exact concept right here. I'm looking for this. And sometimes your unicorn is going to form inside the C2 candle, and you actually don't know if it's going to confirm or not. So you have to, be very, very careful. You want to make sure that other things line up, like the high and the low of the C1 candle get swept by the C2 candle, right? Because then that's like a reverse C2 or like double edge. You want a clear sweep on one end, and because we're bullish, we want that low swept. The second thing is when the C3 candle forms, and in this case, if this had entered, then this would have been a C3 entered unicorn. And with those C3 unicorns, really, really, really do not want to see another C2 form on the other side. That's what I believe is known as a reverse C2. And if that starts to form at a higher time frame POI trade, so like an hourly swing high or an hourly bearish FEG, like you got to be very, very careful. Just a little note there. But for this trade, that wasn't the problem. But as you can see, bam, price goes all the way to TP. So this is an example of how I would set. This is exactly what I did today. This is an example of how I would have set this trade up from top to bottom without indicators and then implementing them slowly. How I would have marked my chart, what I'm waiting for, right? It takes a lot of patience and discipline to. For me, sometimes if I'm feeling a little bit like antsy, I'll just pick up my guitar, start playing scales, right? Or I'll just drop and do push-ups. And I was joking about this with someone in UU about doing push-ups when you start to feel FOMO instead of putting yourself in like a timeout. I feel like doing small little activities like that reset your mindset a bit and kind of pull you back to equilibrium, so to speak. Just gonna double check on the chat here. Yeah, DTR, you owe me, man. 1 Bitcoin. I only accept Bitcoin. Yeah, who created the C2 unicorn name anyways? Was it you? DTR, was that you or was that someone else?
Now, so the C2 just was basically through the T trade stuff, and then unicorn was through Ash. So I believe that like Ash and Juno. So when they
Oh,
did,
yes, Juno. Yes, legendary Juno.
pretty sure
Yes.
that someone saw I guess that collaboration, and then I honestly don't know who originally first started to say it.
Well,
And
I'm
it was
using it.
Day Trading
It's
Realty.
sticking.
Shout out to him.
It's stuck for me. It's just something easy to say, I guess, right? So there's a good marketing twist there. So Bobby says, so you've replaced the daily bias with the C2, but the C2 has to form at a higher time frame POI, correct? That is 100% correct. The C2, as we know, has to form where the higher time frame POI is. So the C2 is forming at the H1 external range liquidity, which is our swing low, which is our London, which is where our 1-3 ADR is. So when you start to align all those together, that's how I would trade this. And like seeing price do this, this is exactly what I want to see, right? This is the distribution, right? So this candle here was the accumulation. This is our manipulation. And then we want to ride the unicorn. And I like to catch that reversal. Like I said, I'm not waiting for like another order block to form here to trade the C3. For me, as I can, within reason. Oh, DTR, you're throwing Maple Leaf jokes now in the chat? Come on, dude. Take it easy. I know Florida won, but if anyone doesn't know, I'm from Toronto. So I am a Leaf fan by default.
Panthers over here, baby. Let's go.
That was a bad beat. That was a really bad beat.
Can I
Reminded me
really
of
be honest
Boston.
with you? Can I be honest with you? I didn't even watch the whole game. I ended up waking up the day after. I looked at the score. I'm like, wait, this is deja vu. This was the score last time. I was like, this
Yeah,
can't be right. I had to recheck.
yep. It was bad. It was bad. So, someone had asked here, pace capital investment. So you basically set up the TTFM indicator to give you influence based on how you trade, or am I looking at it wrong? Yeah. So, you know what? I'll be honest with you guys. So before I even had access to a lot of these indicators, um, I was actually using free indicators, and I'll show you what I mean. So, like, I have so many different templates that I use that I have used in the past. And let me see if I can find. Yeah, here it is. So this is what I used to use. Okay, this is pre 2 degrees. I was using. Well, I do have the OHL. See stat map here, but I'll take that off. So what I was actually using before was these free indicators. And like I said, it's not the indicator that makes this thing, it's the operator. Like you have to know how to use things. So whether it's a trading view indicator or a 2 degrees indicator, like you still have to understand like the technical mechanics behind this whole thing. So for me, when I was learning this process, this system, I actually had many more candles that I would use in my higher time frame because I didn't want to have to keep going back and forth between the hourly to see like where price is and what it's doing. And with the T-Trades indicator, it has a lot of other bells and whistles in there, which are really amazing. But at that time, I wasn't using it, so I was using this. So I had a lot more candles here that I could see the hourly progress. So I already knew just based off this, looking at my old lens, like I already know I have that hourly sweep right here, right, which is this right here, which I marked off. Now I know when on the 5-minute it's a London low. And aside from that, I had these vertical lines. And the reason I did this is because I didn't know which range of or like block of time was one of these candles. So I had to like really use these tools to help my acceleration and learning how to trade this model. So I use these free things. So I had these vertical lines set to showcase every hour, right? Separated time, 1 hour. So every hour I have this line. So that means one of these candles is, so this candle here is what we're dealing with right now.
I got
This
you.
second one here.
Yeah, so can we go back to the other template that you also got for like our tools as well, if you don't mind?
Yep.
But yeah, if everyone is aware that, you can obviously construct your own templates with what's available out there in the public, but given the fact that, most of the people have the elite collection here, I want to just stay on task of just kind
You
of
got it,
displaying
man.
what we got.
You got it. And like I said, these indicators are, like I said, a little like they're offering way more than the free stuff in my opinion. Like they benefit me way more. So I do need to point that out
Absolutely.
as well. Right. So
Absolutely.
which is what I'm using. So that's the setup. That's that unicorn from today. That's what played out. That's how I would have set this trade up. And in this situation, there is no trade. If I look back on my calendar, you guys won't see this, but I'll just quickly take a look. So you can see what I have. My last trade that I took on a C2 unicorn was actually on May 14th. And it was on 6E and it was a loss. And then the trade before that would have been on the 11th, which was an Asia session trade, 6E. So if I were to just jump to that 14th and 11th. So the only reason I'm bringing this up is I've technically not traded a C2 unicorn since the 14th. And even today, I did not take one. So this is just going to that point of like, if a trade's not there, don't trade it. And there's a reason you do that. It's because your stats are telling you if you follow your rules, you are going to have a green month. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean in a sec. So if I go to the 14th, this is an example of, let me see what trade I took on that day. C2 long. So this is a really good example of a trade that actually forms before New York Open and doesn't work for me. So basically it's this block right here. So if 8:30 is my window to start trading, when I log in the morning, I was looking at everything that was, and we can start to see that we have at 6 in the morning, there is a unicorn forming here. And then at this point, we see another unicorn. And by about 8:30, how long it took, I think. Sorry, guys, 1 second. Just need to double check. I see what I did. Okay, so essentially what happened was we had a unicorn here. Use this. Oh, wait, you know what? I realized what I'm doing wrong. On the wrong coin. Sorry, the wrong asset, wrong coin. It's like something's not lining up here.
That's how you get the crypto in you right there. I love
Oh my
that.
god, it's in great. Everything's a coin. Everything's a coin in the man. Okay, sorry. Here we go. My bad. 8:30. Yeah, okay. This makes way more sense. So basically, I logged in. I'm looking at a little before 8:30, and I'm starting to see this form, right? So we can start to see the unicorns here, right? And just turn this off for a second. Just go to the hourly just to show you what the hourly look like. So if I'm here, we have our hourly bullish FEG and prices, hovering in there. It actually tags the lower FEG. So to me, I'm like, okay, I'm in a bullish. I'm looking for longs here. So I'm on my comp. I'm looking. I'm like, okay, this is looking great. I got a London EQ here. I have this setting up, right? I have my unicorn starting to form. Now my job is to wait till 8:30. Now I have some new, like if a unicorn is forming before 8:30, I don't want to be entering. Like I don't mind if it confirms before 8:30. I don't want it triggering entry before. So I have to be able to trigger the entry at 8:30, and if it's before, I don't take it. So in this situation, and this is where it got, because at 8:25 we have the confirmation, and then right at 8:30 we have a trigger for an entry. Right, you can see it's there. So if I also showcase, let's go back a bit. So if I'm going long here, stop loss can be. So once again, I said I use static stop losses. So when I was trading 6E, my was so it's about like a couple of pips. So it'd be from 90 to 80 there.
Again, are you just saying that you're adding a little buffer to the breaker? That's what you're basically saying. That's what you do per asset, and that's just like a static thing that you've employed. And even if it, let's say, affects the risk reward a little bit, you've just been more confident in that for your management.
Exactly. So it's just the static number based off data that it's not like driven by anything automated. It's just me manually looking at data and seeing how price has moved. Like typically when you have these setups, obviously we don't want price rolling right through the breaker, right? Because if it starts to roll through the breaker, then we already know the trade's not valid. We also know that the EQ of any sort of range is highly important. So like for me, I always have these EQ dots on any box I draw. And the reason being is because I want to make sure as I'm managing my trade, like that price is respecting these things, right? So you'll notice it bounces right off there. So when this trade was taken off, I was thinking to myself, like, this is a pretty good trade. I didn't like that the price was inside this premium area and it wasn't actually at a stat mat level. So that's not a good thing. You obviously want to see price inside one of those areas, but for me, it's not a full criteria that I have there. It's like a massive added confluence. So I already was like, okay, well, but the second thing was I don't have the 1.3 ADR level. I actually have it against me. It's like right up here. So, but then when I added the indicator, I can start to see I already have my C2 form. So, and I had the hard time. I was like, I have to take this trade. It's a valid trade that I take. And whatever happens, happens. So as I'm managing this trade, I'm just letting it play out. And I'm like, okay, great. C2's formed. Now, before this massive dumps on me, the T spot had also kind of, I was like, okay, this is really good. Like, at least I have that behind me. I have price kind of closing over this, and we're over the breaker block EQ. But sure enough, price has other plans and decides to just rinse me there, right? So I'm like, okay, well, that's that trade's done. So usually for me, when that happens, my day trading C2 unicorns, like I do not trade another. I'll just let it be, but I will still observe it. Now, the other interesting thing I mentioned was that reverse C2. So you can see now there's a reverse C2. So that's obviously not a good sign when I'm trading bullish, that I don't want to see a bearish C2 form right after a bullish one. But the crazy thing about trading is that as you're watching all this play out, this is actually a good lesson to learn, is see how crazy price responded from here. And so on this leg, I kid you not, I was really pissed off because I got stopped out, and then price shot all the way back up, and price is now sitting back above 1R. So I'm like, oh man, this is gonna go TP. It rinsed me. And in those moments, that's where you as a trader have to fall on all the mindset hacks and the tricks that you use to like not re-enter the trade out of FOMO. You know what I mean? And I stayed out and I watched this. And then when I saw this candle come crashing down, it gave me validation as to why I didn't enter. Because if I had re-entered with another full-size position, this would have been a 2 on me. And if I keep going forward, you're going to laugh. But we get another C2 form down here, okay? Deeper into that FVG. Now, this setup looks really good, even better, because not only is it setting up inside that inside the higher time frame FEG, we've got the stat map alignment there, which if you watch Juno's videos, he talks about flipping these resistance ranges, which is something I also like. But as I'm watching this play out, I'm waiting, and look, another one. This is all happening before 12. So I'm just continuing to manage what I'm seeing and studying at this point, because I know I'm not trading. I already took my loss, so I'm done. But I'm going to keep studying. So I continue to study what's going on. So I have another breaker block here, right? We have the sweep. We have a C2 here now that's confirmed. We have a T spot, and I'm waiting to see what happens. So if I even did enter that, see another stop loss. I'm just showing this because it's a great example. Like when you start to revenge trade because the setup is there. This showed one, like two, three separate setups. This flashed to me, and I would have taken 3 stop losses if I had just revenge traded into this. So I'm just showing this because no pattern or no model is 100%, but it's the operator that has to understand the risk that's associated to the model, and instead of like blowing your account on in one day chasing 3 trades, I just took a -1. So seeing this just validates and gives me confidence that like I did a good job that day of not succumbing to FOMO, which is something in the past I would have done. I would have chased this, and I would have probably gone even a larger size. I'm sure there's a lot of people that know what I'm talking about. This happens, and you're thinking, why did I go against? Like, why did I do that? Why did I break my rules? Okay, you want me to look at CL now? What's happening on CL now? The textbook. Appreciate the honesty. You're welcome. Does the time play a factor in deciding which model to take in the situation? Had you not taken a loss previously? For me, when I'm trading CL on the 5-minute time frame, that's all I'm looking for. It's just I'm looking at one model. I'm just looking to see if that unicorn is there and if it fits my criteria. If I take that loss, that's it, one and done for the C2 unicorn. Like I'm not gonna chase it, like I said. And the other thing too is like I don't trade New York PM. So while we're looking at this, there's like what looks to be a really, really nice setup. If I go to the hourly just to see where the POI is or if there's a POI. So here's that C2. And for me, you could use this as a POI, right? It's like an internal ERL from a larger range here. You could use that, but price has also hit a bullish hourly FEG and basically sandwich price. So this is another thing also to look at. I'll just throw this out here. It's a little trick, but one of the golden rules of trading is when you take a trade, you have to look to see what price is reaching for it. I mentioned right at the beginning how Ash Trades talked about smooth edges. Price needs to reach for something. That's what I learned from him. And there was another guy named Tyler. There was an amazing PDF these two had made back in the day. And for me, when I see these sandwiching of POIs, like I'm looking at it going, what is price reaching for? Price has already reached for the draw liquidity, which would have been right here. And funny enough, it's tagged the EQ of the hourly FEG. Now, I don't know what's going to happen next, but from a probability perspective, I literally just stay like away from that when that happens. So yeah, so that's pretty much that in terms of my model. I'm not sure if anyone has any other questions about it. Just gonna go through the chat as well, make sure to catch up. DTR's like spamming the chat. I'm just kidding.
All right, all right. Is there anybody else that has any questions for Kira? He's using right now the daily stat map on the screen right now, Mike.
Yeah, daily. It's a little small.
That daily stat map with the ADR confluence is really nice today.
Yeah. Someone had asked, I'm fairly new to the TTFM indicator. My trading off the 1 hour time frame, but I'm toying with it to find the best setting for entries. On the 1 hour, I get less entries. Yeah. So, you got to talk to T Trades. He's the man when it comes to that indicator. And obviously look at the 2-degree documentation to learn that. Like I said, I'm kind of taking bits and pieces off of, things that I have learned that have made sense to me and kind of put it into something that is a model that has helped me tremendously. And like DTR says, man, like understanding the fractal model itself, that's a whole different model, will help you. Ushman says, if you go back to the last breaker block you had on CL chart, you showed the trade never came back to the breaker block. How do you enter that trade then? So if a trade is being like, if my entry is front run, my entry is front run. I don't chase price. I have a limit order set on the breaker, and I let the chart gods do their thing. If they're going to tag me in, they're going to tag me in. If they're going to front run me, that's just the probability of the game. It's part of, it's part of the business. Just like taking a loss is part of the business. What doesn't change is my risk. My risk is the same. Someone said, I've heard some enter the trade once the breaker block is confirmed by closure, or even if it. So yeah, so like there's no right or wrong way to this. I know when I first started learning about ICT, there was just so much like negativity in the sense of, I'm not saying you're being negative. This is what I experienced, was that there was so much negativity about like, that's not right. That's not what ICT says. It's supposed to be like this, or it's supposed to be like that. And something like entering a trade is, to me, exactly going against like, you know, what someone might say is like, oh, that's the right way to do it. Where I would just say you can totally enter the second the candle closes above like a breaker block, like right here, right? Like, or I think it was like somewhere up here. If this candle closed up here, you have to understand like how you're going to manage that trade, because when you enter up here, your stop loss, where's your stop loss going? Like for me, my stop loss I already know is a mechanical 3 point, position below the breaker. So if I'm entering here, am I also going to enter here? And if I am, then am I going to split my position in half? These are kind of cool if you're going to trade that way, and there's nothing wrong. You need to figure that out for yourself and let your journaling and your data that you've put together show you what's profitable and what's not. What else here? Yeah, this is recorded for anyone that's kind of showed up late, and I know I'm kind of going a long time here, so I apologize. But at the same time, I thank you all for being here. I'm quite humbled that there's this many people here in the first place, and so all I can say is thank you for everyone for showing up.
Really appreciate you. So I believe that everyone's got a kind of nice rundown of how you trade and how you use the model. A little bit about how you can use the confluences of the indicators, and just gonna give a brief summary of kind of what I've heard as well, and really just to see it align. But it's basically the average range levels, daily manipulation, looking at a 5 minute breaker, 15-minute unicorn with some sort of fair value gap, obviously that's aligned with that. And after so of more or less displaying that, um, you just manage your trade accordingly according to the confluences in the order flow. And you obviously have your targets of the 2R, as well as every other let's call it liquidity pool, and utilizing the session highs and lows as well for like an overall daily context. And more or less that IRL to ERL, just bias understanding right before even our influence with any other, let's say, indicator, because you want to develop your own context before. So that's kind of what I
And
got, right?
I appreciate that. And I just a final thought. I just wanted to show you my current trading journal for the C2 from May, and
Very nice.
I just want people to see my results in this kind of format. If you're inside Unicorn University, we run a 2190 challenge. I'm going to be relaunching this thing in June with white chocolate and ash trades, and my trading journal is going to be right there. See, and people can trade along with me there. I'll obviously still keep sharing lots of good stuff inside 2 Degrees Discord as well. But I just wanted to show my current journal trading C2 Unicorn, and that like I've followed my rules through and through for all of these trades. I've made my notes. I've tracked how long the trades take. I've tracked the time, like in terms of the hourly time. Was it a C2 entry? Was it a C3 entry? Was it a C4 entry? The confluences, my outcome. And right now I'm sitting at 6 wins, 4 losses, 60% win rate, and that's a plus 8.5 RR because I cut this trade early. But there's a learning opportunity here too, because I normally set and forget my trades. And in this situation, I made a mistake and interfered with the trade. And I thought the trade was done. And sure enough, the trade wasn't done. The price just missed hitting my stop loss and then completely went to TP. So things like this are still happening to me as well. Right? See how it just missed? I actually closed it right there in panic. Guys, and this is at night. Probably why I panicked, because I'm so tired at the end of the night. So, and then you can see how price goes. So I'm a firm believer in setting it. This could have been, so this impacts my stats for the month, and it impacts out not by much. because I manage my risk, and that's why I wanted to just show this as a final piece. So, and if anyone wants to find me, I'm on social media. I'm not as active on Instagram. I'm way more active. And if you want to catch me with all these other links and things like that, if you want to use my code to get discounts on 2 degrees indicators, lifetime 20% off, you can just hit bento.me/Traderxkira and get hooked up for life by the best indicators on the planet, in my opinion. That's all I got for you guys today. Josh, you still there?
Yeah. No, I'm
Oh,
absolutely
okay.
here. I was just looking at the chat. I also wanted to see because, I promised everybody at the end of the giveaway that at the end of the stream, we're gonna do a giveaway. And we're gonna have some pretty easy rules to enter today. So there's basically only 71 people left over here. So anyone that dropped off, that's on them. But basically, what we're gonna do is there is a special announcement inside of the 2 Degrees Discord. If you guys have not seen, we're going to drop the link inside of the chat. So check out this announcement. So what we're going to do is basically after everybody can go over there and check out the announcement for themselves. What we're going to do is give a giveaway for each person, potentially, to enter it, you got to just put an emoji on the announcement. And then what we're going to do is run the giveaway here. And if your name's verified, then at that point, we'll get you a free month of the Elite Collection. And that will be more or less very, very exciting. So you can see all of the confluences that Kira uses, as well as the new and upcoming updates that's coming to the Elite Collection. Given the stat map, we're coming out with a new update, for the average range levels, coming out with the dodgy script. So the Elite Collection is absolutely at the highest level that it's been since inception. And right now, we're just very, very pleased and blessed to have everybody with us. So just contributing to the journey is really, really awesome. So basically, just take a couple more minutes. If anybody has entered, if they haven't entered, all you have to do is just put an emoji on that announcement, and then I'm going to run the giveaway here. And then basically, all you got to do again to verify is just click this little party emoji, and that'll just tell me that you're here. So I'm going to do the giveaway right now. And special shout out to anybody already that has the Elite Collection already. You're just going to be able to get credited free days. So it's basically $120 of value just for being on a stream. So, and there's basically 60 seconds. So the quick ones will be there, and the people that aren't won't be. So very, very cool. So, but Kira, it's been an absolute pleasure. We really, really appreciate everything that you've been sharing with us, transparency with the journal, your entire journey, and how everybody has basically now gotten to know you, a little bit about your model. And I'm very excited about continued discussions inside of our community.
Thank you so much for having me, Josh. I really, really appreciate it. So big shout out
Absolutely.
to the 2 Degrees team.
We really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
And best of luck to everybody. I know when I won the giveaway, I felt like I won $1 million, man. So
Joe Rossi, are you here? You are a winner. You got to type within 30 seconds. Joe, you're here. That is awesome. All right, congrats. Shout out to you. Open up a ticket. We'll get you hooked up. You're probably in seat for probably the best seat. So very, very exciting to you. Curious to see what you think about our tools. So awesome. Kira, thank you so much. White Chocolate, thank you so much for being here as well. Flux as well. Day Trading Realtor, Pat Trades, MD. Appreciate you guys. Mike, Alex, Cooper, Jesse, Wafik, very familiar names as well. Project Mayhem, Christy, Keith, appreciate you guys. Adesanya, appreciate you. Bullish, thank you so much. We'll be talking soon. Big Dog, shout out to you. JD, shout out to you. A lot of familiar faces again. If I didn't mention your name, all love and respect. And we will catch you guys soon. A lot of exciting updates to come.